Hello, my name is Anna, and today we have a very special guest, Mert Şimşek. He used to be an architect in its general meaning, but then at some point he decided to switch to the IT industry. And his way is full of determination and bold decisions, and his curiosity is absolutely contagious. So, you will see. Okay, so hello, Mert. I'm very, very glad to see you. And today I would like to reveal your diverse story. And my first question will be connected with your educational timeline. Could you say a few words about the place where you studied and what degree you eventually got?
Yeah. Uh, Actually, I've studied architecture at Yeditepe University. And in Turkey, the architecture education is 4 years. So I got my architecture degree eventually after 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Was it connected with landscape design or something like that?
Uh, in Turkey, we have three majors, which is related to architecture, which one of them is landscape architecture, another one interior architecture, and the third one is architecture in general, which includes all, let's say. So I've studied architecture, which is the general field.
I see. And how did you make such a decision to study there? What influenced it?
Uh, and to be honest, like before in Turkey, the system is like you just go into an exam, you get some you get a score after that exam, and based on your score you just pick which college, which major, and based on your luck actually, because it depends on how many people in that year apply that major in that college. So I was 18 at that time, and when I was 18 and I grown up in a small town, let's say, and I haven't met any architect at that time. Like I literally I knew no one. So like it sounds cool, like in the first place. And during high school, I was good at drawing, I mean sketching, and also I was interested in math, physics, and I was also strong in that field, let's say in engineering. So I just wanted to study something is combination of both. So architecture at that time was interesting for me. I mean, I didn't know like what architecture totally means. I knew that it includes some amount of design and some amount of engineering. That's all I knew at that time. So that was the reason why I prefer that major.
And did you have any entrance exams?
Uh, Considering the talent, my college, it wasn't mandatory, and so only the college exam end of high school, it was the only score enough to get in that major.
And after your graduation, did you start working immediately as an architect?
Yes. When I complete my degree, I like just within a few months, let's say, I started my first architect job experience, which was in the Middle East, which was in Doha, Qatar. And just between graduation and my first field experience, the job experience in the field, there was only a few months, let's say, 3, 4, maybe. Yeah.
Was it some special program in Qatar? How did you find it?
So I didn't do any online application. And so what I did is, I mean, to find a job, I did lots of online applications, of course. And I did few interviews, and I was like searching every field. So because I was in Turkey, so the easiest way to get in a job, to find a job in Turkey in the first place. But in general, the construction field in Turkey wasn't that good due to economy, the industry by itself in general. So like while applying online or like following on LinkedIn, etc., I also searched for my friends and relatives, like everyone who I know, even like my friend's friend. I was just trying to connect anybody just to get a job. So with that end, like just let's say a relative from my mother's side, so she was an engineer in that company. So with her reference, I just managed to get an interview for that job. So after the interviews, after the process, I finally landed that job.
And what kind of job boards do you usually use in Turkey to find a job?
In Turkey, we have some websites which are similar to LinkedIn. You create your profile, you enter your previous experiences, you explain them, and you just apply with the cover letters, and which is called like careernet.com, which is the most popular one, let's say. So it's online, like everything else.
And are there any stages in Turkey of interview? How does it usually go?
It really changes based on the company and the size of the company, culture of the company. Let's say, I mean, some companies just hire you based on only one interview. Some of them require you at least 3 interviews. Some of them requires you to like do some, let's say, case study. It's also same in IT, also similar in architecture as well.
And back to your work experience in Doha. How
Yeah.
long did you stay there?
I stayed there around 2 years, let's say, like exactly 20 months. I was there. If I talk about the project, it was a construction project. Uh, I I was working in a stadium project, which was building for World Cup 2022, which is completed. I mean, even the World Cup is completed. So if I talk about the job, what I do there, I wasn't in the site team. I was at the construction all the time. Every day I was going to the construction site, and I was working in the architectural design team, but I was working under the main contractor. Uh, it was a joint venture. Let's say 2 main contractors were working together for the project, and I was working for a Turkish main contractor. And as I said, I was in architectural design team. And when I say design, when I talk about this job, people always tend to get like, I designed the stadium, but it's when I say the design team in the main contractor, it's more of like coordination between different disciplines and different stages of the construction. Because of course it starts with the design, but like from the design to the construction process, there is a long way, and the path includes lots of coordination. Because with the design itself, nobody really paid attention about the structural, mechanical, electrical calculation and the coordination between the architectural design. So we, as a design team, in general, what we do is we just make sure from transition between like design to, I mean, to make the design, I mean, change the design to a constructible version while protecting the main design. Because on the way there are deviation, because like you have to make it work, you know. It just
Sure.
yeah. So there are lots of different like we were the main contractor, but under us there were consultants and contractor and main consultants and sub-consultants and main contractors and sub-consultants. So it requires lots of coordination to like make the process the more efficient.
I see. So lots of
Yeah.
different people and stages and so on and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
forth.
Yeah, so it's also the client is there. So what we do is like talk to clients, get the feedback, and talk to consultants, contractors, and just make sure these different disciplines works together while they are developing differently by different teams. So on the process, we also make changes on the design.
Mhm.
Sometimes we do it by ourselves as a team. Sometimes we just instruct the other members to do as the client requests. There is a balance. I mean, like it's not like we do whatever the client say or like we do whatever the consultant wants. So there is a total balance, and that's why we are there. Let's say that's why we were there.
When you got back, did you continue working as an architect?
Yes. When I came back to Turkey from Qatar, uh, so while let's say I have to go back in time, like when I was studying architecture, I realized that the conceptual design is not my thing. I mean, I didn't enjoy it, let's say. Uh, and there is also a technology called uh, BIM, Building Information Modeling, which is the IT side of the construction. What you do is you just build the digital twin of the building, and that that 3D model includes all the information, and basically you just realize the issues which you are gonna see on site, and you take precautions on the model, so the construction phase goes like very smoothly, let's say. So I was interested in that field while studying at college, but when I first graduate, I haven't had chance to start on that team or work on that field. While I was a student, I was developing my skills, but when I had the chance to work on a like World Cup stadium project, I just take it. I just didn't say that.
Sure.
Oh, if it's not in beam field, I'm not gonna take it. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I just accepted it. And there was a beam team already, but they didn't need any manpower, or they were not looking for any junior beam architect. So but since I was there and it was a BIM project, I was uh, also touching the BIM model by myself. I was part of the modeling, but it wasn't my main job. So when I came back to Turkey, what I really wanted to switch to, I mean, in architecture, just switch to that field. So what I did is in another college, which is uh, Istanbul Technical University, they had a certification program about specifically this field, building information. I mean, I don't remember the total name of the course, but it was about the BIM specialist, like BIM specialist certificate. So I took the course. While taking the course, I just get into another job in Turkey. I mean, I wasn't the construction guy anymore. I wasn't going to the site. I was working from the office. But the project was also another construction project. So we were the transition between the design, conceptual design, to the construction project. But like now I was the one who is building the 3D model, let's say. And that project was an airport project, which was in Sri Lanka. And uh, about a year I worked there, and uh, I was happy. uh, I mean, I was happy as a BIM architect, but like while working as a BIM architect, I realized during the 3D modeling phase there was lots of repetitive work. I mean, somehow I was doing everything again and again. At that point, I just realized uh, there must be a way to improve this efficiency. I mean, I don't need to repeat it for sure. It's like the era of technology, there has to be a solution. So I just checked what at that time I was using a software called Revit, which is an Autodesk application, and it has some plugins and some add-ins which you can like download it and start to use together. And at that time, I started to learn plugin called Dynamo, which helps you to automate the process. With the Dynamo, you don't like type the code, but it has like visual nodes and it has functions in it. You just connect the data and that visual node, and you actually, in fact, you code, but with the visual nodes. So that was my first interaction with coding, let's say. Yes, and then at some point, I really wanted to go deeper. I wanted, for my specific needs, I wanted to create my tool. So I just checked how I can write my own plugin, how I can develop like the software which serves especially for me and the people which were suffering the same problems. So at that time, when I was searching, I came across the term API at the first time, which is application programming interface. And the Revit, the application, had an API, but I knew nothing about what's an API. So I checked how I can start that process. I realized that, okay, now I need to learn something about coding and some programming languages. For in the Beam field, generally the plugins were coded in .NET, which is C# framework, and Python, or I'm not sure about the third one. I think it was Go. But so I needed to learn some backend language for that process. And
where did you do that? Where did you go to learn that?
So at that point, I just tried to learn online. I just checked like how I can learn code. At that point, my source was YouTube. I just checked the people who were not studied computer science or computer programming, how they learn it. So most of them, I mean, they were generally the people who switched their field, I mean, some field to the software developer. So in general, what they say is like, start with the front end, learn JavaScript. It's trust me, it's the best way. So I took their advice. Instead of learning a backend language, I started to learn JavaScript at first. And with their advice, my first source was a book, just a book which was like 500, 700 pages, but it was really basic book. It has lots of images on it and lots of like abstraction to explain the basic concepts. When you look at it for the first time, for sure you will say that, oh, this has to be a book for a child, you know. It cannot be for a grown-up, but it's not. It's a book for grown-up and for the people who wants to learn code. I mean, so that book called at first JavaScript Programming. It's like a brain-friendly guide. It was the main title. And when I first started with that book, I didn't focus on any other source. Like it was my main source, and I was working full time at the time. The schedule, my work schedule was really busy as well. So, but on the public transportation, I was working on site. I mean, from office. I was working from office, and on the public transportation, I was spending lots of time. And what I did at first, like on public transportation, I just started to read the book, like on bus, on tube, on metro, etc. And while studying, reading the book, I mean, I was also practicing at home. It's not just reading. You have to practice what you learn. And with that book, I started to learn the basics. It's not the JavaScript only. The basics are same. Doesn't matter which language you are trying to learn. So, so with that book, I learned. I mean, the book starts with the basic concept to the advanced topics. So, as I said, it's 500, 700 pages. It was a lot of to learn. So I learned data types, variables, loops, which are like for, while, for each, etc. And then I started to learn the concept OOP, which is object-oriented programming, and then with JavaScript and web development, the document object model, which is like the object the browser build and then you interact with a web page, which is like basic CSS and HTML. And then with JavaScript, you then finally make it interactive. You just click a button, just change the colors, you submit, etc. And afterwards, before I finish the book, on the way, I was also watching lots of YouTube videos, listening the people who changed their career. At that point, while I'm halfway of the finishing the book, I realized that, I mean, this is way more fun than what I do at first. I mean, I also enjoy learning. I love learning new things, and I also enjoyed like doing the practice. I enjoyed facing the problem. I mean, in developer world, it's bugs. I mean, facing the bugs, solving the bugs. Yeah, and then I started to go deeper, which I wanted to learn like the basic concepts of computer science, the basic terms. And at that end, I came across, I mean, with the suggestions. I mean, I'm doing lots of research on web, and I came across with the CS50X course, which is an introduction to computer science course from Harvard University. It's the course. If you go to Harvard and you wanted to learn something about computer science, it's the course you take. So, and it's for free. I mean, if you want to get a certificate, you have to pay some amount of money, but I didn't pay. It's for free, and it's from the edx.org, the website. And so I took that course, and with that course, I already knew the JavaScript. I mean, before I learned CSS and HTML, I started with JavaScript, but on the way, when I needed, I just also learned some CSS and HTML, but it's not, compared to JavaScript, it's not that hard, like CSS and HTML. And then with that course, I learned the really, like, it starts with the low-level language, which is a C. And with C, you do everything by yourself, like memory allocations and free up memory. I think I shouldn't talk about lots of terms, but let's say I'll just talk about the titles. And I learned the basic concepts. From the lowest language, it goes to high-level language, which are, it includes like Python, and it includes SQL, also some JavaScript and C. And while learning those, it also includes like some essential concepts, which are like data structures and algorithms, which, from my opinion, they are a must. I mean, if you want to be a developer, you must know data structure and algorithms. It's like maybe your daily job is not gonna involve those algorithms, but knowing those algorithms for sure helps you on the way, and like on your way in your professional growth. And so I completed this course too. This course also some homeworks which practice what you learn, and also this course includes some cybersecurity. I mentioned SQL, which is database. SQL is structured query language, which you use interact with the database. And you learn also, it starts from the basics, which I already mentioned, like data types, variables, loops, object, term, and etc. And afterwards, like at that time, I really decided, I don't want to be an architect anymore. I might be work for construction field, but like I have to be a developer, which develop a software for the construction. I mean, that could be the only way which I'm gonna stay in construction.
So you wanted to combine these two fields into one.
I mean, the first opinion came into my mind was that, but then it just, I'm currently, I don't work in that field, let's say, but that's what I thought, because still I didn't think that I could make it to a software developer while everybody were studying colleges and doing master degrees, etc. I didn't think that it was an option. And afterwards, I decided to go with some structured courses, which and I wanted to do it as fast as possible, because I was working a full-time job, and like quitting the job wasn't an option at that time. And I searched for some boot camps, which are gonna teach me all the concepts and in a deeper level with a structured way and as fast as possible. So I found a boot camp, which was a full stack boot camp, and I knew some front end, I knew some back end, but I did some coding for both, but I didn't know which way to go. So boot camps take around like 4 to 6 months in general. So 4 to 6 months, I thought could be enough experience to decide which way to go. If I want to go the front end direction or back end direction. But if I take advice from all the people on the YouTube, on web, most of them suggest to go with front end because it's gonna be, they say it's easier to learn compared to backend. I mean, it's not the easiest. And also, if you go to a big tech company, with the first experience, they generally do not want you to touch the backend because the backend is where you store data. Like not where you store data in database, but where you connect to a database and where you can access the data. So it's kind of dangerous. If you do something wrong, it could cost a lot for the company. So anyways, so I just search for the boot camps, but as I said, I was working full time, so I was working a course which were on weekends and like after the work hours. So there was a course from another college in Turkey. I generally prefer colleges because I mean I trust their knowledge. Let's say.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. And so from another college, which is Bahçeşehir University in Turkey, another Turkish university, and I applied for the course. And during the course, it had, if I'm not wrong, it was like 2 steps. One, an exam, which includes some. It's not coding exam. It was just some math, and it tests your problem solving skills. And after you succeed that test, and then you go in an interview. The interview is not like a job interview. It's just what you know about coding, what are your interests, what your expectation. And the bootcamp was also, I mean, when they advertised, it was like job guarantee. Like after you complete the program, like their percentage is really high to land you a job. And then I, like after those steps, I got accepted for the course. And that course in the backend was for .NET in general, a C# framework, and then some SQL, which we were in general used like MS SQL, Microsoft SQL, and then React in front end as a front end framework. But in generally, we were like using ASP.NET template. ASP.NET is also a framework which were built over .NET, which is used for web services. And so in general, I learned a lot about ASP.NET at that bootcamp. And the bootcamp started with the basics, but then it came with the OOP, but this time with the backend. So it was way deeper. So I learned the object-oriented programming principle there, which were like polymorphism, inheritance, abstraction, etc. And the solid principles, SOLID, each refers to some like single responsibility and open and close principle. Each has deep meaning. And while taking that bootcamp, I was amazed, like all those concepts and the theory behind. And like while taking the course, I was always doing my homework and programming at the same time. I was reading lots of articles and watching lots of videos, like theoretical videos, to learn those concepts, like fully understand those concepts. And I had a great instructor. Whenever I faced an issue, I just sent an email, texted him. He always replied me. So it took 4.5 months, and then I developed 2 full stack projects, even 3. I built an e-commerce website, and also a bus ticketing reservation system, web-based. It was another web project. And then I built an personal blog website. The last 2 were just a personal projects for graduation. So for the third one, for the personal project, I used on the way I was taking online courses as well. I mean, I took an API course which includes HTTP, hypertext transfer protocol, and how it works and how does internet works. Those are essential concepts like you have to know in today's world. If you're gonna be a developer, you must know how internet works, etc. And then I decided to use an API in my graduation project, let's say. So it was the first API that I built at that time, and I used React for the front end.
So, and I have a question about your studies.
Yeah.
Did you face any challenges while studying? What was hard to master? I mean, some skills to acquire.
For sure, you have to be curious. I mean, when you learn something new, it takes time to understand. First of all, when you understand it, if you are curious about it, you're just gonna you'll want to know what's the technology behind it. So for instance, let's say I just talk about HTTP, the hypertext transfer protocol, and even behind that protocol there is another protocol which is TCP. So it's it's an endless journey, and how much you know, how confident you will in the interview while you develop, while you code, so while you are coding. So the most essential thing, if you in my point of view, the curiosity, because you can't push yourself to keep learning. You need to, you must want to learn, and this is the most essential thing. And the second thing, which I really faced in the beginning of the journey, the belief. I mean, you have to believe you can do it. If you don't believe in yourself, for sure you'll fail. I mean, in the beginning, I wasn't sure. If I'm smart enough, if I'm smart enough to learn all those concepts, learn how to code. But after the dedication, after the hard work, after all the sacrifices, you realize that it's not about being smart. It's all about discipline and hard work. And to be that disciplined and being a hardworking person, you can't push yourself. It's you have to, as I said, you have to be curious, and the learning must excite you. Let's say. So these 2 things were the stuff that everybody will face. And on the way, what I prefer to go into a boot camp, it's because well structured, and if you demotivated on the way, it push you because you have the deadline. With the boot camp, you have lots of deadlines, and those deadlines really helps. I mean, of course, it stress you in a point of view, but you need some amount of healthy level of stress to make it work.
Sure, that's all about discipline too.
Yeah.
When you have some deadline. Sure. So, and you also said that you're guaranteed with a job at the end of your studies.
Yes.
How did it work with you? What did you have to go through? How did you get this position?
I need to explain about the guarantee. It's they guarantee you to get you some interviews, but they do not guarantee you about the scale of the company, or they do not guarantee you minimum wage, minimum salary. So they only guarantee you to, okay, if you succeed to graduate from the course, we will get you some interview. The rest is up to you. But if you pay the required attention to the course and you develop outside of the course, you'll get the job. That's no worries. I mean, you realize it when you go into the interview by yourself. I mean, when you experience the interview process, and also the interview process is based on your experience. You'll get better each time. And if you already know the required knowledge, and when you had enough experience with the interviews, because it requires some like advertising, you have to advertise yourself somehow, and you have to demonstrate your skills in the interview. If you have the skills and you know how to demonstrate, I mean verbally,
Mm-hmm.
then it will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So the course helped me to get some interviews. Uh, one, two, three. I think I get into, I mean, three different interviews with different companies. But I wasn't happy with the scale of the companies, or I wasn't happy with the team, or the task did not excite me. So I got some job offers from those interviews, but I didn't accept. It was really dangerous. I mean, I quit my job like half of the bootcamp because it was too much, like learning all, practicing all while working full time. I mean, I don't say that nobody can do it. It's like it's possible, but I
It's just
didn't want to
stressful,
push.
I guess.
Yeah, and I didn't want to push myself that hard. And like after quitting the job, also my growth were like way faster because I had more time to study
Mm-hmm.
and more time to rest, of course. And so after I completed the course, I continued to do courses. I continued to code by myself, and uh, I like the hardest part of my journey, getting the job, like for sure. Like
So
cause
could you say a few words about it? How did you get it, and what is your current position?
uh, so how I get it, like I did over 200 jobs. I know the number 200 because I was tracking. I had an Excel sheet writing which date I applied, which date I got responded, and like I was like, if I rejected, I just red highlighted. So I was tracking it, but after 200, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do it anymore. And the company that I currently work, um, I applied like mid-December.
Mhm.
My first application was mid-December, and my first interview was like 3 or 4 months later. So I got uh, they got me back like after literally around like between 3 to 4 months. Let's say it's so you have to be patient if you want to work in a good company, because like based on my experience, like uh, if the company grows, the process also grows. It's longer, more interviews, and so also from my experience, the target should be the companies that give you some tasks, gives you assignments, gives you case studies. Because in that way, then you demonstrate your skills. Then they have some document to see what you're capable of, and afterwards like they'll get back to you. I mean, otherwise, because you are in the pool and there are thousands of applications. I'm talking about the Turkey. I mean, this is in Turkey.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
see.
and so that's why I had to apply lots of jobs. But what I got back in general, the ones that I completed a case study, or they gave you some assignments about some coding tests, and so that's how I got my first interview.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And now I work in a company called PI Works, which stands for Performance Improvement Works. And I'm not in construction field anymore. I work in telecommunication. And what my company do, if I need to talk about the company, what they do in general is, it says with the name, it improves the performance. And how it do it, it work. Our clients are the GSM operators, like globally all over the world, like Ooredoo and O2, Telekomina, I think it's the holding name holding, and in Turkey, Turkcell, Türk Telekom, and like we have lots of clients all over the world. And what we do is we just if I need to summarize, we get the data on there is a network tree. I have to get some details to explain it.
You're welcome.
So in network there is a system called a network tree, and it's like internet. When you connect to internet, it goes first to modem, like the device, the Wi-Fi device which you have, and then it goes to nearest station, and it goes under the it goes underground with the cables, it goes to the station, etc., etc. And it works with the same in general, the mobile network system. And what our company do in general, it just takes the current performance based on some parameters, which we have in our system, and this is what they buy our application. So it tests the current performance, and based on the workloads on each node, it just give the developer some feedback, how the performance can be improved. It's just optimization in general, how to optimize in the best way. So we use the automation and AI, like these words are like so popular, it's everywhere, AI, artificial intelligence, and like automation. So we also use those in our company. And
what are your duties?
Now, sorry?
What are your duties there? What do you do?
Now, I applied as a software developer. My title is software developer. I mean, currently, I'm an intern software developer, and next month I'll start as a full-time. I mean, I work full-time. I work as a full-time now. But like my title includes intern in the beginning, but next month it's not gonna be. And what I do is currently I develop in Angular in my company. And Angular is a JavaScript framework for front-end building component-based applications. And as an Angular developer, one of the product in our company, I mean, we have lots of products. Some of them built like over 10 years ago, even 15 years ago, etc. So if you build something 15 years ago, it's gonna be from 15 years old language and 15 years old technologies. So now the project I'm working on written in AngularJS, which is older version of Angular. And what I do is I just move it up to newer version. I mean, it's not like I do it something I do by myself. I mean, I'm part of this process.
I see.
As a junior.
Have you faced any challenges on your way?
A job? You mean a job?
Yes.
I mean, I'm really happy with my company. It has great work culture. People are awesome. So when I first started with an intern, they helped me a lot. They gave me lots of sources to improve my knowledge. They gave me, I mean, I didn't start with my internship, sorry, and started to code for the project, for the company. I mean, it didn't go that way. It was like, first I took lots of courses, and whatever I have a question, I ask my team lead. His name is Altay, Mr. Altay. And he responded my every questions with like details, and they really cared about like my professional growth. I mean, they wanted me to learn everything in depth, because at the end I'll code for them. It's gonna be for them. So they made sure I got enough knowledge. And I mean, the point of the internship to check if I'm capable of. I mean, if I'm capable of to do the work. And afterwards, like they make sure I got enough knowledge to be capable of the work. So I took lots of courses and questions, answers. I read lots of documentation. Like half of the time I read the documentation during the internship. It's because you need to read the documentation to be a better developer, because you have to be fully, you have to, it has to be under your control, your tools. So you have to know each detail, how to. So when you face a bug, for sure there is sometimes maybe there is only one solution, but it's hardly ever. In general, there are more than one solutions. So as a developer, so you must know all the solutions, all the possible solutions, and you have to have enough knowledge to decide which one is the best and which way you need to apply it. There are lots of concepts, design patterns, principles, etc., etc. So like during the intern, just I developed my skills mostly. It's not like I directly started to code. So I faced lots of, then I started to join the project. So with those knowledge, it was way easier. In my internship, I didn't touch only the front-end part. I also learned the CI/CD, which is DevOps. I created a pipeline, which is not like a HTTP pipeline, which is the CI/CD pipeline. It's still some details, but like it was a great experience to start as an intern. I also suggest people, if you find a company like mine, just do not hesitate to join as an intern. But there are lots of companies, lots of different cultures. So yeah, so the problem that I face, every day I face problems, but when you have the tool and like when you have the system, how to face the problem and how to solve the problem, then it's not gonna be a problem end of the day. And if you have the people to support you in your team and in your company, then it's not gonna be a problem for sure.
Yeah, that's wonderful environment. And when it comes to your career, what are your ambitions and future plans?
And my future, like the first thing to do for my career, to be a like great developer. Do as good as you can. So at the end, be a great software developer. And so I'm really interested with the principle and the design patterns, the theory in general. And so the architecture is not like my previous career. It's software architecture on very long term. This is like maybe hopefully 10 years. It's a long way. So in a short term, just do really good at what you do. That's my like short term
to improve.
Yeah. Okay. Short term plan.
Mert, thank you so much for your participation.
Thank you.
It was very, very useful. Everything that you have said, all the information you have provided me and people with, it was really, really captivating.
Hopefully, like it's gonna inspire some people all over the world. I will be happy.
I will place your LinkedIn.
Thank you.
So you can give some consultations. So thank you again, and maybe
Thank
see
you.
you later in our next episode.
Yeah, why not? I'll be happy. Thank you.